Good morning, everyone. My name is Olivier Lewis, broker owner of the Cranford office. So good morning to our agents throughout our 4 offices, Cranford, East Brunswick, Hamilton, and Middletown. For those of you who haven't met me, I do these think tanks every Tuesday. If you ever have a topic you want to discuss, please shoot me an email, DM, or message, and I would love to talk about it. So I do need your interaction. Please ask questions. I'm actually going to turn on the comment button so I can see any comments. Please say good morning, ask questions, provide feedback. If there's anything you want to share that's working for you, please chime in, as the interaction is great, needed, and definitely gives us more energy to keep going. So let's dive into today's topic, which is an important one, and it's that relationships are greater and more important than transactions. Obviously, we need transactions, as that pays the bills and that's the lifeline of our business. But what helps us get to the transactions are our relationships. Most of the industry's business does come from referrals. Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
Great. You guys can speak up. Most of our business does come from referrals, and referrals are usually sparked from what?
Relationships.
Bingo, relationships. There we go. So managing and growing and going deeper in those relationships will typically lead to more
Referrals.
Not everyone at once.
Business.
Referrals and business. Exactly. So that's why I want to talk about this, because it is an important topic. And too often we get lost into chasing the transaction and chasing the deal, and we forget about the relationship. And once that hard transaction's over, or if you have 4 or 5 going at once, you're so focused on making sure everything gets done so it doesn't die, of course, that as soon as it closes, you're on to the next transaction and the next transaction. But what about this client? What about that relationship? And we tend, in our industry, I want to say our RE/MAX First family of agents is definitely above the cloud and above the industry. When it comes to this, we do a better job of keeping in touch and following up. But the industry tends to forget about that person after close. Why? Because they're chasing the next client, the next transaction, and the next lead, and they're not building on that relationship. And it's so important to really help them at that point after they close. How many people here have a handyman that they use or go to? 1 out of about 5, 6 of us, 7 of us, right? The clients typically don't. If they're coming from a rental, they've never had to call a handyman. The super, the landlord, the property management company is taking care of that. So how do they get their locks changed? What if they need doorbells? What if they need their furnace service? All the things from the punch list of the home inspection that wasn't done. Do you see why it's so important that they need us more than ever right after the closing? But we are on to the next transaction. So this is a quick step back to remind us that the relationship is so important. Managing that relationship, not forgetting about them, creating a system where you don't have to remember what to do, when to do it, and that you have all these clients, creating a system that you can follow manages the process for you and makes your life easier. So it's good to, obviously, and you have to make sure and manage your transactions, but you cannot let go of the relationship to just chase the next transaction, because that's your referral base, and the referrals are the lifeline of your lead gen and you generating more transactions. So another thing is tech. I get a lot of questions. I'm sure Carl, Michelle, Dennis, Andrea, we all get a lot of questions all the time, Frank, about, this new tech company and this new thing, is this going to make us obsolete? Or I'm going to try this and it's going to just automate my business and I'm never going to have to talk to anyone. I've literally heard agents say, I'm going to get this system and I'm never going to have to talk to anyone again. That is not the solution. Tech is here to help us be more efficient and, yes, streamline a lot of our processes, but tech cannot convert your leads. Why? Because tech cannot communicate the way we can as humans. Tech also cannot grow relationships. Do you guys agree on that? Tech is not building your relationship. Tech cannot build rapport the way you guys can. Can it help us follow up and keep in touch? Absolutely. Can it help us be streamlined and efficient? Absolutely. Can a lot of it automate our process and our business? Absolutely. But I've never seen a bot really convert someone and answer any questions or go close someone. I've never seen, and maybe it's happened, I haven't seen a seller just list with a bot and agree to sign paperwork and send paperwork over because a bot or some drip campaign kept emailing them, right? Has anyone seen that?
Never even heard of it.
We can. So it's the relationship. So it's use tech, but don't just say, hey, I put someone on a drip campaign and that's my follow-up. Or I set someone up on my newsletter and that's my follow-up. That's not follow-up. You are the follow-up. You're the ones that are going to convert. If newsletters and drip campaigns worked to the point where you didn't need anything else, every agent would double, triple, 5x down on newsletters and just campaigns, right? You'd have every buyer and seller in every newsletter, every campaign, anyone you meet. They do help. They're better than nothing, of course, but that is not the end all solution. So if you're using tech, do not just say, hey, all my past clients are in a follow-up campaign, whether it's mailers or newsletters or anything online, and that's it. You need to be the converter. You need to be the one building that relationship, because the more you speak to them and you go deep in the relationship, the deeper you go into the relationship, the more you'll get referrals. And you cannot just rely on tech to build that relationship, right? We all interviewed before joining the company, although most of the stuff we offer, we have a website where you guys could have just said, hey, activate my license. I want to join your company. But we all sit down, because that's where the relationship is built. That's where you get to really understand. It's not tech, right? So tech is great. It's efficient. It helps you, but do not just rely on tech. And I want to talk about one other thing. Let me think. Be intentional. Be intentional with how you lead generate, what your plan is, and how you follow up with people. You have to be intentional to help them. Going back to my first point, after someone closes and they don't have the garbage schedule, right? These little things that we overlook as agents, when to put the garbage out, when's recycling, is there a bulk day? If you're following up and helping these people, hey, do you want to change the locks? You probably should anyway. Past owners had keys. Who knows, whoever else had keys. Oh, I don't have a handyman. How do I change the locks? If you can help them with all this stuff, you can then build a relationship, because you're a resource. You're not just there to get a check and then disappear. And that's when you can really go deep and explain to them how you work and how important referrals are. Not just a Facebook post and a quick, congratulations on your new house. That's not going to do it. That's good, but you need to be intentional. Our coach always says you make a deposit in a relationship before you make a withdrawal. And you guys have to make deposits post-close. You have to work to deepen those relationships. And the more of that you do, the more transactions and referrals you will see from it. So make a system, create a plan, create a process where after close, you're going to have touches and real things of value to add to the client. And there's a lot of things. Someone that just bought their home in the summer, anyone have a good idea of some easy check-in you could do now that it's fall and leaves are turning orange, brown, whatever color, and falling? What's an easy check-in to have? Landscaper.
Gutter cleaning.
Gutter cleaning. How many tenants that have never cleaned a gutter, don't know what a gutter is, have no idea that the leaves are going to fall, clog their gutters, and they need to get cleaned after all the leaves are done? How many tenants don't know that just bought a home? A lot of them, probably a majority of them, right? I look at my neighbors. They don't, like, their gutters are overflowing from last season. And my wife's like, well, if you say something, you might insult them. I just don't want them to have a leak, because that absolutely will happen. But that is so simple. And I just thought of that while looking outside and seeing the gutter of the building next door, right? There's simple things of value. If you sit down and you make a punch list and say, every month I'm going to check in and here's what I'm going to call about. That's it. It's so simple. And there is something every month. And sometimes it is a happy holidays, as the year is going to change next year. And sometimes it's something of real value, like telling them about their gutters, because it's something that they overlook, right? Telling them to shut off their, telling them to shut off their outside water lines and put a cover on it right when it starts to get cold. There's something of value every month if you plan and create a system and a process. and that will help you. I'm going to share a really quick article from Inman. Let me try to read this from a distance. Relationships are greater than transactions. Transactions are vital for short-term survival, but relationships are the catalyst for long-term success. Here are a few ways to turn transactions into long-term relationships. Communicate consistently throughout the buying and selling process. Show your appreciation by saying thank you and providing a personalized closing gift. Stay in touch after the sale and check in regularly. When we focus on building better and deeper relationship, transactions always follow. Period. The business is simple, very, very simple. Inman News, which is our Wall Street Journal and our major publication for everything real estate, says the easiest thing to do is communicate, show appreciation, and stay in touch. How simple is that? Right? Super simple, just not easy because we put it on the back burner and then forget, and then it blows up and you see your past client list that home that you sold with someone else 2 years later. So it's simple, guys, but you just have to take the time and create your process, create a system. We're all here as the leadership team to help you if you have content issues or what to say or how to follow up. But that's it, guys. Work on those relationships. And it's not only post-close, it's actually through the transaction. Building rapport, walking people through stuff, being a solution, being empathetic, not having commission breath. Those are all things that help build the relationship. Most of us live and survive on referrals, and the best way to generate them is to strengthen those relationships. So any feedback, questions, comments on that? Let me read from you guys here. No, I'm just reading the notes. Good morning. Give, ask, receive referrals. Love that. Give, ask, receive referrals. But you give first, make a deposit in the relationship, and then you shall receive. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. Just a quick reminder of how important building those relationships are. We have to get through transactions, but do not chase the transactions, chase those relationships. One transaction's one commission check. One good relationship can be an infinite amount of referrals over the course of your business career, right? I can think the two people that jump out that have given me the most referrals was, I think I have one that gave 5 and one that's like 8. And these are all people I closed. So, and the one with 5 is probably more just off the top of my head, putting myself on the spot. The one that gave 5, I'll never forget because he was maybe my 4th or 5th transaction. It was a $150,000 company lead from Lending Trees company, realestate.com that I work for. Really quick story. And $150,000. And I had to pay a 35% referral fee off the top because it was a lead generated from the company. And you guys laugh, but it was opportunity cost. I didn't stub my nose at it because I needed to build my business. But guess what? Within a year and a half, 5 transactions closed from that referral. He happened to be a doctor that was buying an investment property in Plainfield and referred me a commercial property, sold his primary residence, and 3 other members of his church that I closed within a year and a half. So that relationship paid me, 10 times over what I made on that first transaction. And what's funny is a lot of agents in my office at the time didn't really want to go work that lead because it was a $150,000 lead. And it spiraled into 5 referrals within 5 years. I'm sorry, within a year and a half that I closed. So that's the beauty of relationships. If you do right by people, make a good deposit, you're a resource and you're helpful, it will turn into business. And that's the best lead you can get. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. I will see you guys next Tuesday on the next Think Tank. Thanks for attending. See you next week.